Screw these dealerships. Freaking incompetent. Anyway, hey, this is the way it goes, right? It's the day you got baptized, the day you got married, the day your children were born, and the day RepairLink hooked up to Shop-Ware. Those are the 4 happiest days of your life.
We take the trust of our listeners very seriously, and I hope that you know that when I say that Shop-Ware is the best automotive shop management system, I believe it in my heart of hearts. And now it's even better. With new features like Tech App, it streamlines the inspection and dispatching process for you and your technicians. And with massive improvements to Shop-Ware's exclusive digital vehicle experience, they have stepped their game up to a whole new level. So if you haven't scheduled a demo yet, click the link in the show notes and do it today. If you've already had a demo and you were waiting to finally switch, there has never been a better time. So click that link and get started today.
I don't know why I get so angry over somebody accusing me of using Zoom. I don't know.
So glad Nelson can see through your bullshit. Okay, I'm so glad he can see right through it, because we all know you don't have a mind, right? Like, you have this like pea of a sense of self. What it is, man, it's bad. It's bad. Like, self-realization is something that most men, when they reach the 40 mark or somewhere right around there, they've had some.
How long have you been 40? I'm like a month and a half. What do you know?
I had mine like years ago, right? Like, I had my self-realization years ago. I'm just wondering when it is that you're going to have a self-realization.
You think your back's in trouble now. You just wait till you wake up, your knee pops out of place, and you're like, oh, this is new. And then you have like gray hairs in your nose, and you're like, oh, this is new. And then you're tired all the time. You're like, oh, this is worse than it was before.
That was way before 40 for me. That was all 30 symptoms.
Right, yeah.
Oh, it's so much worse. How old are you now?
40.
Oh, it's you guys are babies. You just wait. You just wait. It's so much worse. It is. You're like, oh, this all happened in my 30s. No. I thought the same thing. Then I hit 40, and 40 was fine. 40 was good. And then 41, and you're like, oh, this is getting worse. By the time you hit 44, you're like, this is all bad. This is terrible. I'm supposed to live like this for the next 30 years? No.
David's doctor lied to him and said he's supposed to get a prostate exam a week. And it's bad.
I'm avoiding that. I'm avoiding that just because I don't know. And the whole thing, I don't like to be touched. The whole thing seems uncomfortable to me.
A hotel room to get your prostate exam.
I'm relying on straight blood work. Just straight blood work. Hey, every time I go in, I'm like, hey, check my PSA. Is it good? Yeah? Okay. All right. That's it. I'm good.
Nah, man. You got to let them go in there and dig around. Check it out.
How many have you had, Lucas? You seem like you're an expert on this.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, like, with your dude and B&I group and everything else, they should probably be doing a little bit of probing just to make sure you sit next to the guy, right? Like, maybe it's contagious.
It's contagious. Don't laugh about prostate cancer. That's terrible. That poor guy. He's so screwed. I feel bad for him if he's like, yeah, I'm miserable all the time, but I'm still alive. He's like totally, he's been essentially castrated chemically. They haven't chopped everything out. They chopped all the insides out. But he's chemically castrated and that's just to keep him alive.
Dude.
Yeah. Just to keep him alive. And then he's got to function that way.
Man,
but he's still alive.
terrible.
So what's that?
Better than the alternative, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't think so. He's like, I can't live like this. So if the alternative is I have only another month or whatever to live, it's whatever. I'd rather feel normal for another month and then die. He's contemplating that. That's where he's at. But he's also hunting down like the weirdest treatments he can find, just experimental stuff in Southeast Asia. He doesn't care. He's like, whatever, we'll try it out.
What's so weird about this, and I'm being dead serious. I'm not joking or anything like that. But for me, it's a really weird thing after watching what Shelly went through, right? And I say that because she went through this thing where, okay, I'm done with the treatment. I'm over this. I'm just going to let it happen, right? And then when it got close, seeing that, oh no, what have I done?
Really?
Yeah,
did she like did it hit her and she's like, oh no, this is actually happening now? Is it like one of those
thing? It's like you jump off the bridge.
Wow. That's
it's like you jump off the bridge and then all of a sudden, and like seeing it in slow motion, dude, it was really impactful for me. I don't even.
Have you seen the documentary?
Processed it? No.
Have you? It's called The Bridge. Have you seen it, Nelson?
No, I have not.
Okay, well, I'm sorry that would start so morbid, but this is the most depressing thing in the whole wide world. And it's a guy who sets up a camera in front of the Golden Gate Bridge before they put the nets that cost $8 million and took 30 years to put up. He set up a camera. He told them that he was going to do a documentary about the bridge, and so he got permission to set up the camera for a whole year.
Yeah,
but what he caught instead were people jumping off the bridge, and then he would find out who it was, and he would do a whole backstory on the person that jumped. Like he'd interview the family, he'd interview like what happened, what state of mind were they in, the whole nine. And they're the saddest stories. But he interviews a guy who survived the jump. And he talks about how, he thought this was it. He needed to do this. He couldn't continue to live. He said the minute his feet left the bridge, he instantly regretted it. And all he wanted to do on the way down was, I just want to live. I just want to live. I just want to live. Yeah.
Well, it makes you wonder, like, are there people who don't feel that way? B, like for me, it's tough because like I watched her go through that. And like I said, because it was in slow motion, I don't think I've processed that yet. Like my mom, she just slowly moved from phase to phase. But Shelly, it happened in this really weird way to where like it advanced really quickly all of a sudden. And then she was in a lot of pain. And then the doctors convinced her, oh my gosh, we could have done something and we can still do something. And like this whole, like it made the end of her life really terrible. And I regret that for her. I was reading this article last night. Very interesting that it's an article where this guy is talking about it, and they had done this study. It started by accident. They were doing an epilepsy corrective surgery on an older man, and he had a cardiac arrest during the process. And they were monitoring the brain because that's what they have to do in the epilepsy surgery. And after his heart stopped beating, it was like 900 seconds of brain activity they recorded before they stopped. And they pointed out, like, after we thought this person was dead, right? Like this brain activity we typically look at would indicate this person's dead. Their thoughts are still going, right? And he said, so we need to be thinking about organ donors, and like we're acting on this, but the data says they can still feel, they can still sense, they can still hear, they can still feel emotion. Right. And I'm like, could you imagine that's almost like being buried alive, right? You're stuck in your soul.
I don't know that you feel. Well, I bet you do think. You're probably processing memories, and the brain's just dumping chemicals in, and all of a sudden you're going back and you're 3 years old again and riding your bicycle down the street.
So that's what they're talking about, is they're talking about that where does this reliving of life happen and what causes it? And they're talking about the electrical signals in the brain and how it happened. And they said, hey, so we started doing research and we found out this goes on for like a really long time. This doesn't just happen. And they like, it was crazy. It's a very interesting article. We should probably like text these people and see where they're at.
I don't think they're coming. Nelson, introduce yourself loudly.
My name is Nelson. I run Eurotech German Car Service in Winter Park, Florida. We've been here for 33 years now. I've been the owner for 2 years. I was an employee for a long time, and kind of navigating this new role as a business owner.
You got suckered into buying it? I'm sorry.
Not necessarily. It was so it was my father-in-law's place, and he passed away. He passed away unexpectedly, so we kind of were thrusted into the role, and here we are.
No, it's always better when it's family. We had Joe Schindler on at the Institute Summit, and he didn't want to run a shop. He didn't want to be in automotive, but his dad needed somebody to come in and help him, and so he stepped in, and now he took over entirely. His dad still works in the business, but he helps. Joe's actually he's turned it around. He's made it professional. He just posted a picture of his lobby with this light counter. Is it a light counter, Lucas? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's a light counter that scrolls up. It's so cool. The whole setup that he's got, and he's turned the business into an actual business rather than a job for his dad. But I can see, and I was telling him this, I can see the drive to want to do that when it's family and you want to maintain the legacy, and something that's been around 30 plus years is nuts. It's 9 degrees here in Kansas. I just want to point that out. And I hate you.
It's warmed up here a little bit. It's not so bad.
Oh, this is coming for you, Lucas. It's coming in about 2 days. It'll hit you.
North of us. It's going north of us. Yeah, but there were inches of ice on the trees yesterday. It was crazy. Thousands of trees down, power out all over the whole county. We live right in front of a main transmission line. So if it goes down, it's bad. Right, so they really work hard to keep that up. So we typically don't lose power, but it was pretty intense. Pretty intense.
It says Keith's here, but I don't see him popping up.
You probably have to admit him.
Why would I have to admit him? I didn't have to admit anybody else.
It's because you already hit record like a goober.
Oh, he can't get in. What do you want me to do? Stop?
No, there should be a button to admit him.
There's no button.
Why do you keep messing things up, David?
Why
do you make all this problems every single time? You create problems for everyone in your life. There's Pete Perkins.
There he is. See, I told you I didn't have to do jack. He just had to get in. See, that's the loudness that we were wanting for you, Nelson. Because this is going to come in hot. I'm just telling you. I can tell already.
The loudness.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Yeah, no, I'm usually not. Yeah, it's not too loud, right?
Keith, meet Nelson. Nelson's is in Florida, where it's warm and comfortable. He walks around outside in those short sleeve shirts and shows off a European shop that he's owned for 2 years and has been around for 30.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Keith, how you doing, Fluffles?
Good. My HDs were firing off pretty hard.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Again?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's all the time, but yeah.
What is HDs? What does that mean?
I've got 80 HDs, 80 of them, and they're firing like crazy.
Listen, we have this employee that works for my dad, and he's always making really irrational, really terrible decisions. And my dad said to him one time, his name's RD, and he's had a very speckled past of substance abuse and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And my dad said, "What is wrong with you?" And he said, "Wayne, I've got the ADHD real bad."
ADHD. Oh, yeah.
So he just added in letters?
Yeah.
A whole bunch of them.
I'll never forget, we were on a job site one time. And when you work in construction, especially in this area, it's not uncommon to see very speckled characters. So sometimes the police department or sheriff's department or various other forms of law enforcement show up. And so we're on this job site, and they come and they're going to arrest him. And he takes off running, and they said, "Stop," in the name of the law, as they're starting to run after him. But the sheriff's officer was a big boy, right? And he took about, 15 steps, and he decided that he was good. He was just going to find him another time, right? And so as this all progresses, the next morning, we're all getting ready to go to work at our little meeting place, and they show up, and they said, "RD, why did you run from me?" And he said, "Oh, no, sir, you are not going to do that to me." And he said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You did not say, RD, stop." He said, "You said stop in the name of the law. I was just trying to get out of your way." They would have put me under the jail, right? They would have just locked me up and thrown away the key. But he seems to talk his way out of it. Did you know that Keith Perkins only uses OE parts, David?
Only OE?
As much as humanly possible, with very, very few exceptions ever. We have turned jobs away, diagnosed a car, said, this is what it takes to fix your car. The only part available for that is this part, and we won't put that part on.
Right.
That has happened.
Okay, but the car still needs to get fixed, so you just dump it on some rando shop in Oklahoma?
We let them know the situation of why we don't want to do that part, that we know that they will be back most likely. The probability is way higher than it won't come back, and that we will continue to investigate a replacement component to find one. We have a list, so need a range switch for a 69 RC. That's I'll have to go. I can't see the board from here, doors closed and everything, but yeah, we have a list of things we're looking for. When we find them, we call the client and let them know we found one.
The hell's a 69 RC? What is that?
Transmission. It's an ASIN transmission they put in Dodges.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, like, dude, I don't know about you guys, but we are having such a hard time with OE parts and even some aftermarket right now. Like, you just can't get them.
Yeah.
I mean, is it just me, or is like the list of back orders through the roof?
I got a 2016 Buick Envision here that needs a differential assembly. Had a spat case at GM, and it's been here for 3 months. Actually, just
the hell's a Buick Envision?
It's a Chinese car. It's made by SAIC. SAIC is the company that actually makes it, and it's rebranded as a Buick because, General Motors.
Buick is a luxury brand in China.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the largest. If Buick went out of business,
used isn't available?
They're all bad, so I won't put a used one in.
Yeah, but you're assuming that the new one's been fixed. Has it?
It hasn't even been manufactured yet. They're still on back
order. They have no replacements.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So we ran into this with an engine on a Dodge. It was a newer Dodge. And when we ordered one from Mopar, they sent me an assembly line engine, like ready to drop into the manufactured car at the assembly line engine. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Fuel rails,
it was
everything.
Everything was already on it. Yeah. Like you took that engine, you just dropped it, slapped it next to the transmission, hooked up the lines, you were done. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know why they don't ship them like that every time.
Well, we just got a 3.6 Chrysler that it came in, we put it in, got it done, and it was puking out of the head gaskets. Right? Both of them, not one side, both sides. And they're like, this is not possible. Here's a video of it. We don't want videos, we want pictures. Okay.
They can't open videos on their system.
It's so frustrating. We extended warranty company, we show them the pressure transducer and the oscilloscope readings showing, hey, this car is out of time and we don't have any compression. Here's where it's leaking out of. We know the valves are bent. Yeah, but do you have a visual on it? The visual is the oscilloscope. Like, it's done. Like, that's your evidence. You don't need anything else. You don't need anything else. This is more than I could possibly provide you. No. We need you to do teardown. We want to know what failed.
I just insult them to their face when that happens.
I do. I say the most like foul things to them. Like this isn't the 90s anymore. Like, I get you, like your little gauge and all that. We don't do that here. And I'm sorry you talk to 50 other shops that's what they do. We don't do that here. We're a little bit different. Go look up, Google an oscilloscope and how it works. You'll know that what we did is more than enough.
Yep.
Hey, David, Keith.
I was a mechanic for 25 years. Well, now you work at an extended warranty company. You're
30. Useless. It's always 30 for us. We always I've been working on cars for 30 years, and I always ask them, have you ever fixed any of them? Or you just work on
Hey, David, Keith said he would work out a great deal for you, okay? He's going to set up a special link just for you. You can go over to L1 Training. You can buy them the subscription to L1 Training. Just send it to them, okay? It's going to come out of your bank account. It's going to be super convenient. You don't really need the money anyway. And so you just send that right on over.
Don't have any money anyway. I don't know what money you want me to send. I'll put it on a credit card and hope I'll have enough money to pay it later.
Hope the warranty company actually pays you.
The comments from the podcast we did, Keith, did you read any of those comments? No, because you don't watch our stuff. But
I
if you had...
I do too. You even talked about Liz just the other day on one.
Yeah, we did.
Did I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lucas did.
Yeah.
Oh.
You didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Ooh, sometimes people freak me out when they're like, hey, you remember when you said this? I'm like, ooh, what did I say? Anyway, You should read the comments. It's kind of interesting. Fix It Guy said, I feel like you guys are missing the pulse on this one. You're discussing really complicated issues and most shops don't even know how to balance a freaking tire. Is that true? Do you find that shops can't even balance tires?
We have a lot of vehicles that come in that have weights cross-weighted all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Here's one. I rarely do used, but just recently on a Buick Envision, I installed a used rear differential. Axle seal was leaking badly.
Are you serious?
Yes, that's on there.
God,
New seal is not available, and the only option GM gives is a new differential.
Yeah.
Which was not available anytime soon, of course.
Yeah.
Found the updated differential used and installed it. So there's been an update.
Yeah, there you go.
Customer was extremely happy. It was much cheaper and quicker, but I don't see a differential as a huge safety or liability issue in the future. I guess kind of.
They just lock up and then skid you the rear of your car into other vehicles. No safety issue, no big deal.
Well, I mean,
No,
if
it's
you
fine.
take the whole diff and the axles out, like what's it going to do? It's now a front wheel drive.
Yeah.
See? I've done that to Subarus back in the day. Back in the day, the rear diff goes out.
It's like, are we talking about those
And
things
you're
that
like-
we've done in the past that we now regret looking at what?
Yes.
what
I don't know about regret. The car still ran.
There were a few shop owners who are now coaches who used red shop rags for bushings to get a car out the door. And like,
Oh, no, that wasn't him. The tech did that. The tech's like...
he was
and-
bragging about it. I'm just saying.
I don't know what the end game was there. Like, he was just trying to stop the leak, right? Like, hey, you won't get drips anymore.
Hey, there was a shop coach that's also a shop owner that just the other day was telling people that somebody asked about getting an ADOS machine. And he said, it's not even a thing to think about right now. Don't worry about it.
Oh my
What in the hell is he talking about?
Yeah,
Nelson, do you have an ADOS machine?
We don't.
What do you do?
We sublet it.
To who?
There's a few companies, usually ProTech is who we use.
Like, the guy's not doing it in the parking lot, is he?
No. They have a facility.
ProTech's owned by Caliber, so they usually go to the other collision centers.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Are you pro or anti parking lot calibrations, Keith?
As long as the calibration's done correctly in an environment that's correct to OE, you can do some in the parking lot. Some can be done
Yeah.
in the parking lot.
You know, I don't know if you know this. We were in a fairly high-end meeting one time. You might be able to deduce which one it is. I'll let you do that on your own. We were in a meeting one time, and there were some executives or some engineers from a company that would have stake in whether the car was calibrated properly or not. And they showed us a video of a particular brand of car at that particular brand dealership, pushing the car back and forth away from a chain link fence and hitting calibrate until it said it was calibrated. And so they'd roll it back and they'd hit calibrate, and eventually it would go. And eventually I met with the, well, I can't say the name because people know who it is. I met with somebody from that organization, and when I said like, "Hey, what's up with that?" the look on his face, like the color literally drained out of this dude's face, and he's like, "I didn't think anybody knew about that." Like, but I mean, seriously, I don't know. I think that our industry looks at a lot of this stuff like it's not really that big of a deal. And you know, we've been accused of being fear mongers before because we bring this up so often and saying like, hey, doing it the right way with the right parts and the right components is extremely important to the reliability of the repair, but also the safety of the client and the value of the automobile.
But at the end of the day, I don't care about whether if they decline the safe, proper way of doing it. You know what? I don't care about you. I want you to not kill me when that car slams on the brakes while I'm not paying attention because I'm playing on the phone. And then we all die. We all die together. Why? Because you didn't want to pay for the proper calibration. That's annoying. I don't want to die like that.
Yeah.
I want to die from an aneurysm.
Yeah.
Hey, based on that vein on the side of your head, I think we're crossing the home stretch at this point.
Hey, I'd much rather go out like my grandpa in his sleep, unlike the other 4 people in the car. I'm kidding.
We kept it morbid. Let's just keep on cruising. We started with suicide talk. We can keep going.
I mean, I don't know though. I think that, you know, and Monique's the one who helped us get all this set up, but some of the talks were is like, hey, how does RepairLink integration in Shop-Ware make everybody's life easier. And I mean, it really does. Even if for nothing else, just being able to pull the part number and the information in. I don't necessarily always use RepairLink to order parts. I don't think dealers respect it like they should here.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah.
And I get a better price too,
you get
because
a
sometimes
rebate.
they run deals.
Yep.
Yeah. Sometimes I get a better deal, and I'm like, that price is incorrect. My price on RepairLink is blah bitty blah, and they're like, ugh. I'm like, I'm sorry. Talk to your boss. He signed up for it. Anyway, honor the price. Screw these dealerships. Freaking incompetent. Anyway, hey, this is the way it goes, right? It's the day you got baptized, the day you got married, the day your children were born, and the day RepairLink hooked up to Shop-Ware. Those are the 4 happiest days of your life.
For sure. I agree. I mean, and now like Parts Tech and RepairLink are really like.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that because we use Parts Tech and RepairLink in our Shop-Ware. So when we open it up, we got a Parts Tech, and then we've got a RepairLink tab. And so when they join RepairLink with Parts Tech, even more, I don't know if I'm going to get rid of the RepairLink tab and use it all in Parts Tech, or if I'm going to keep them separate. I don't know yet.
Ooh, can you imagine if they add the dealers in just like the other regular vendors?
That's what I thought.
And then just like flip.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be awesome.
They Parts Tech had their Rev Up event here in Orlando, and I went out to. They invited me out to kind of speak to their employees. It was all their employees from all over really all over the world. But Greg Kibler was there, was the CEO of Parts Tech, and I got to talk to him a lot about kind of the roadmap for the OEC and RepairLink and with Parts Tech, and it did kind of sound like OEC wants their like user interface, so I could definitely see that getting blended in there, and man, would that be great, because we can all
that would be so cool.
RepairLink is not the most user friendly, so
yeah, and I think that's what's made Parts Tech what it is, right? And that's why everybody loves it, is because the UI is on point, right? It works, and it works well, and that is one thing that's always been missing in RepairLink is some of the flow just is not there.
Well, that's good. That's because they're going off of whatever the manufacturer puts out. So when you're looking up a Ford, Mopar is the absolute worst. I love my Stellantis minivan, but they put things in the weirdest spots. And you're looking for like a rear differential, and they're like, it's under cooling system. Like, what? Why? Why is a rear differential under cooling system? But that's just Mopar. When you're looking at a Ford, like I was looking for body bolts on a Ford pickup truck because we're quoting out an engine, and holy crap, I could not find body bolts.
You got to go to frame and find it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Is that where it is?
Yeah.
I did end up finding it. I don't remember where the hell I looked, but you're like looking under body and then chassis.
Yeah.
I tell you, the thing that gets me is like connectors, and especially Ford.
That's
Ford
not a
still
thing,
does
man.
the connector in the boxes. I think it would be so cool if Parts Tech would eventually go to folks like Connector Repair or one of the connector websites, and Connector Expert. Yeah, and start bringing some of that stuff in and incorporate it into their UI. In other words, you could it's like, if you look, it has other vendor options you can select that are shipped to vendors. And I think they've backed away from that a little bit. But it's same with OEs, right? Like, I think that the RepairLink factor, especially if they could set it up to where you could have a deal where you were talking about the eBay thing the other day, David. Remember that? How like they'll only sell that on eBay. If they have those divisions,
the dealer will only sell it to an eBay customer. They have the part in stock, but they won't sell it to me as a shop. They only sell it through their eBay store.
Now, how cool would it be if RepairLink could work a thing out with the manufacturer and the parts came from the manufacturer directly?
Bypassing the dealership, that won't be a thing.
I know, right?
Well,
but I mean, look at what FCP did, right? FCP did that in a lot of ways.
I mean,
I
have a local Ford dealer. Well, they used to be a part of the United Ford dealership network, and now they're owned by Penske, but it's a warehouse that's a distributor. And so I looked for a fuel pump control module on my local. I always order from this. We still call it United Ford, but it's not really United Ford. It's something else. Yeah. United Warehouse, I think is what it's called now. And I can order this fuel pump control module for this 13 Ford Taurus SHO for $20.69 from them, and they had 30-something of them in stock. I called the dealer because Saturday, it was my personal deal. I was trying to help somebody. There was a family friend. So I was like, I'll go Saturday and go pick it up. I forgot United's closed on Saturday. So I went to a dealer, and they had it in stock, but it was $85.
$60 markup. Holy crap!
Yeah, because I was getting it from a distributor, not even the manufacturer, getting it from a distributor who's got their markup, and then that usually that distributor is servicing a bunch of other dealers who then mark it up again, just like parts store. David, you know this.
Yeah.
When it goes from a DC to a store, it gets marked up.
Yeah, but it's not that much.
No, not that much.
We used back in the day. You used to be able to see DC pricing, and then they took that away. But but you're still going from you're just looking at DC pricing, and it's usually not $20 to $80.
No.
Sometimes they price that stuff out on availability too, because they're like, hey, I can get this. Ain't nobody else have it around here.
Yeah.
It's triple the price.
And this distributor isn't part of any dealer network anymore. Because they're owned by, like, Penske delivers all their stuff to us. It comes in a Penske box every time we get stuff. But they're local. They're 5 miles down the road.
But they're OE parts?
Yeah, it used to be a Ford warehouse. They only sell Motorcraft Ford stuff. Now they sometimes offer some aftermarket, not just Omnicraft, the Ford-owned aftermarket brand, but also some other whatevers.
I have never bought an Omnicraft anything.
Me neither.
Ever. I don't know if it was offered, if it popped up and available. Maybe I'd look at it, but I've never seen anything. I know the brand exists. That's about it. They sell the Ford Blue long part number stuff as well, not just Motorcraft?
Yes. Yeah, not just Motorcraft.
Okay.
Yep.
So, Keith, a couple of questions, and it kind of goes back to our discussion that we had a while back at ASTA. But one of the things I'm curious about is when we talked about used parts, right? And dealer statements or manufacturer statements about used parts. Something that came up a while back was somebody shared, I think you were in the group, you may have even commented on the post where it said, hey, we can't authorize the use of that. And it was in the collision space. You work a lot more in the collision space than most of us. But then you see Stellantis come out and start saying they're going to start selling used parts as Stellantis. I mean, what does that say? What message do you think that sends? Because if you can call the dealer and buy a used part.
Yeah, I'm not anti-used part, but when a manufacturer has a position statement that says not to use a used part for a certain sector of repair, like collision, in this instance, it's body parts, crash parts, because every part is designed as a crumple zone. You can look up the lawyer that did the John Eagle collision case. He travels around with 5 or 6 of those Honda Fits that he took it farther. Not only did they take it and sue the pants off everyone over that whole deal, but they also took a Honda Fit and put it together with Kappa parts and then put it together with OEM parts and crashed it and said it doesn't crumple the same. It is not the same. Yeah. So when it's that stuff, when we're talking about a differential or something, I am not opposed to a used differential. We may be putting a used differential in a 2010 Tacoma pretty soon, but that's because it's not a high failure rate item. Yeah. Right? This differential is extremely high failure rate for that Buick Envision. I'm not interested unless I can confirm it's the updated part or something in warranting something with our warranty that I know will probably fail. It's embarrassing in general. Even if we have the conversation, the client says it's okay. Is it okay when they're sitting in the tow truck on the side of the road at 11 degrees? It's 11 degrees outside right now. So are they okay with that then? No. That thought process has changed. Amnesia happens.
I tell shop owners
that's
all
why
the time.
You record the phone call and then you download it and put it on the ticket.
Yep.
That's why. That way, there's no discussion.
Do you any good? It doesn't save your reputation.
Nope.
They're still upset.
Well, yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And
but there's a difference between. I get what you're saying, but like when you have the recording of their voice going, that's the way I want to do it. It's like, dude, you're not going to blast me on the internet.
Let me just tell you something. I have a number of recordings of somebody in their voice saying something, and they still don't even believe it's them.
Yeah.
Okay, like you can hear their voice, and they're saying
it's a lose-lose. It's better off you just tell them, like, as the professional, we've made the decision not to do X, Y, and Z. It's not the best for you as a client. It's not the best for us as a business. I don't want to ruin that relationship over this deal. I think it'd be better if, I've referred people to other shops. I said, I know XYZ shop does a pretty decent job mechanically, and I think they do use aftermarket parts. They'll probably be willing to put that on.
Do. You want used parts, you want to bring your own parts. Hey, I'm happy to refer you to somebody. Like, I don't want to hurt feelings and say that, no, there's no way.
Okay, it's a little different.
Taking a hard line stance.
If somebody calls and says, and they're not a current client, never have been, and they're like, I've got my own parts, I refer them to a shop that's out of business, always.
That's one way to do it. I'm just saying, like, I will talk to them about the advantages of not doing that. And if they're hard set on that, I'm happy to refer them somewhere else. I don't care.
And then they call back, and I just ask them, wow, it's crazy. I wonder what happens to all the people that had warranties at that shop.
Hey, let me
Warranties.
ask you, what are warranties? Kappa, wasn't it the Kappa parts that they kept writing on them with a grease marker, and then they would like take them and go through a car wash somewhere, and it would blow all the paint off of where the grease marker was? Isn't that?
I don't remember that, but
and
that's
so
funny.
like body shop people
I don't know
were,
that
like,
was Kappa
drawing
parts. I do remember.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
was Kappa parts. Pretty much anything from Keystone, like if it was plastic, they would write on it and the paint would blow off because it wouldn't adhere where they had written.
Well, that's a prep problem. That's a shitty shop.
It was something
not
to do with
prepping the
plastic.
surface.
They said it
Well,
was something to do with the plastic. You
I'm sure that's what they
prep it
say.
and it would
They're not going to blame the customer like, hey, you guys are all incompetent. You're supposed to clean. You're supposed to clean and scuff. Like, where's the cleaning and the scuffing? It's like, yeah, we don't do that here.
If
We
it's
just spray.
Plastic, you're supposed to also use an adhesion promoter.
Adhesion promoter, yeah. But a lot of times the paint's got the goo in it already. Like they've got the paint designed for plastic bumpers.
Yeah.
Because there's got to be a little give in there. Hey, Nelson, I got a question for you. I get a call. We quoted out a 2015 BMW 535. One of the things was an alignment, all right? 535 Xi. And we have taken the position that on anything Eurotrash, we are going to look up the time on the alignment. Like, I'm not going to do my standard, whatever, 0.9 or whatever I charge for an alignment because it's not a fucking Corolla, right? It's going to take 18,000 adjustments and who the hell knows. And then half the time the bolts need to be replaced and everything's seized and, typical Eurotrash. So we quoted out like $535, which included replacement bolts, which I think we looked up and said, hey, these bolts are going to need to be replaced or something, like these adjustment bolts are going to be added in, whatever. It's like $535. So I get this call from this guy and he's like, hey, I just replaced axles on my BMW 535 or 5 Series all-wheel drive. I don't remember the year. And he's like, how much to do an alignment? And I go, well, we go by whatever BMW says. And the amount of time and the work and the labor, everything in there, and we give you that package price. And he's like, well, how much is that going to be? And I'm like, dude, I don't know if you've been. You've never been to my shop. I have no idea. But you know what? I'm going to look up because we just did one on a 535 Xi. Let me see how much that was. And I told him 530 something, and I just heard click. Not even a no thanks, just click. How much are your alignments on all-wheel drive BMW?
So typically it's going to be around $350. We don't do them in house; they're subletted. We don't have an alignment machine. But even the BMW dealer doesn't charge what they should. They also don't replace the hardware. They have menu pricing on their wall when you go in there. So
that's so frustrating with these trash dealerships because they're like, the dealer charges $199. It's like, okay, the dealership isn't doing it right. What do you mean? They're the dealership. I know, right? They're the Bible on it. No, they're not. They're incompetent. They're there to make money too.
Yeah, BMW offered 3 oil changes for $200. They're kind of running out now, but it was 2 years ago. People call and they're like, "Oh," I'm like, "Yeah, I can't beat you. Sorry."
What are they putting in for at that price?
Just,
Canola oil.
Yeah, recycled canola oil.
It's going to last about the same amount of time anyway.
Yeah.
It's just going to leak everywhere. Then it's going to lock up, blow the chains.
That brings up a really valid point. Like, the Volkswagens, they had some very specific oils. Was it Land Rover that had that one crazy one-off oil that was like, they changed it 3 times and it had this crazy long part number? You know what I'm talking about, Keith? Mm-hmm. There's a Range Rover or a Land Rover oil that's just crazy. It was impossible to find for a while starting out. And so I would call the dealership and I would be like, hey, you got this oil? And they're like, huh? Yeah, this is the part number. And they're like, no, dude, we just use bulk.
We just bulk whatever,
and
yeah.
I'm like, right, but that's a different standard for me. Because if I do that, you're going to come back and say I put the wrong oil in the car and I'm the reason they don't have a warranty for that engine. But now you're doing a $99 oil change on it with this coupon and now I'm not afforded the same opportunity? Like, come on now. And I mean, it was a really crazy one-off oil. I can't remember what the specs were, but like it had this crazy additive package in it. And it's like, oh, this is the only thing you can use in this car. And you can do
whenever they do that is because improperly engineered the engine and they're trying to fix it after the fact with some additives in there. We look up the spec on everything.
Yep.
Like you look at your Audis like year to year. Like 1 year is 50200 and the next year is 50401 or whatever. Like, and you're like, okay, so whatever I bought for this 15 is not going to work on the 16. Great. And then even like model to model, you just got to look it up.
Well, I mean, we do, right? Like, obviously, but I'm just
not
saying
Nelson. He uses bulk. Nelson, do you use bulk?
No, we have too many oils to keep track of. It's a pain in the butt, but it's.
Do you keep it in stock, or do you order by the car?
We most of it is in stock. We do
really?
Like 20-liter jugs, the Liquimale, and then I have a bulk tank for the 540, like European that fits.
I don't envy
it meets
you
a lot of the
for
specs.
a second, Nelson. Okay,
Yeah.
like I've sat down and I've read that oil specification sheet, and it's like LLO4FE is backwards compatible to this, but not to this. But that's forwards compatible to that, but not to this. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, 030 unless it's burning oil. Then put 530 in there, and it's like, okay. That's the first time I've seen this car. I don't know that it's, but yeah. But don't worry, it'll need timing chains anyway, and the oil cooler's leaking. It's like, okay, great.
I don't know about you guys, and this happened more in the pandemic. I'm not going to call out any brand specifically. I don't
Ford.
know if it's a dealership thing. No, it was your lovely Stellantis for a while.
Oh, no, not Stellantis.
And look, I just want to put this out there. I love Lester and the bunch at Dorman very much. They're fantastic human beings. But I was ordering OE parts and they were coming in with wings. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about they were flying into the shop. I'm talking about they were Dorman parts and OE boxes.
You know, he told you what happened with that. The CEO saw it coming. He's like, oh, crap. Order everything. Stock up. We don't want to run out. This is going to get ugly. Yeah. He foresaw the supply chain issues a year before, 2 years before it actually happened.
Yeah. But I mean, like, how do you counter that? I mean, we're talking about using OE parts, and I'm not saying
Lester
like
makes a quality part sometimes. Hey, the oil pans. I don't know about oil cooler, but the oil pans on those junky Ford 27s, the oil pans, they had Nelson, you don't even know about this life. I'm just telling you, this is how trash these vehicles are. They decided that they were going to make a one-piece, one-time use oil pan that had an integrated seal on it. And if it started to leak, there was no take it off and re-gasket it. No. That's too simple. You got to take it off, chuck it, and then put a brand new plastic piece of shit on this car, right? The problem was they didn't make enough, and they're like, oh, we didn't foresee these leaking on every single Ford F-150 with this 2.7, the highest selling vehicle in the country, leaking on every single one. They have 50,000 on back order.
They lost that title this year.
To what?
The RAV4.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
First time in 50
the
years.
RAV4
First time in 50 years.
Sold the F-150.
Yeah. And it was
who the hell is
CRV
buying
RAV? The F-150.
No,
CRV.
that's got to be for like normie consumers. It can't be for fleets and stuff. They can't be including fleet sales on that.
I bet they are.
They can't.
I bet they are just to show that.
If you buy F-150 with the 2.7, sorry, Chris, my manager, says a lot about you, but if you buy that, aren't you stupid enough
got a
already
Ranger
to know that,
Should have got a Maverick, whatever.
No, those are just trash too. Like, you want something like reliable in Ford, you get an old school Ranger. With the old school Ranger with the 2.5 and the junky 4-speed, like that's it. It is as simple as it gets. The door handles are going to break. The exterior door handles are going to break. The interior is a little sketchy. The instrument cluster is going to go out. But other than that, just change the oil on it. The car is good because they made the same car for 40 years. It's like the same junky-ass Ford Ranger that they've had for forever. That's the one to get. That's the only Ford I would add.
98 to 2018 is the same car.
Yeah. Yes.
and then they ruined it.
Yeah.
They ruined
Yeah, and then they're like, "Hey, this thing's too reliable for our brand. It's off-brand. We need to over-engineer it, under-design it, and then just
the RAV4 outsold
make it unreliable."
The RAV4 outsold it because the RAV4 offers a 2.5 liter non-turbo, direct and port injected 4-cylinder that with VVT. and an 8-speed behind it, and so it's the same motor they've made since '06.
Yeah.
That they put in, and it sells for like
other than
28,000.
those like
It's like
those like
28,000.
09 to 12 years where they decided to put those weird ass piston rings in there, and every single one of them is burning oil.
Yeah.
Other than those years,
But
I tell everybody these are the best cars to get.
the other thing is
Toyota Corolla, Toyota RAV4. That's it.
they start at like 26, and then most of them are about 28 at the local dealers for RAV4.
Yeah.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Wow.
Brand new.
Yeah.
So that outsold the
fantastic.
F-150. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen. When the overlords come down, and that's what they're going to force everybody to drive. That was going to be a thing, but after November, that's not going to be a thing anymore. Now we're all free to buy whatever the hell we want.
Oh no! What has happened? Keith, why
Hey,
did
we
you
were
let
all
this
going to
happen?
be all going to be forced to drive electric vehicles from
OE
China.
parts.
That's what was
So
going to be.
OE parts.
BYDs.
But we can't buy OE parts for those, Keith. I mean,
No.
like,
BYDs.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they don't have a dealer network. Is there? Do you think there's a chance that car manufacturers looked at this and said, "Hey, if my vehicle produces emissions, then I have to have a dealer network according to federal law. But if my car does not produce emissions, I do not need a dealer network. So why don't we invest big in EV and kind of sweep them under the rug?" And then their plan backfired.
Mm-mm.
It
No,
didn't backfire
no.
very
What-
well because we took that fight to Tesla at NASTF and,
Right, I remember.
and showed them what it looks like when there is no repair network, that tools like Loki and other stuff come out that just completely remove the Tesla from the company from repairing its own vehicle by we will create a solution as the
Of
aftermarket,
course.
and it will not involve you making any profit is what will happen. And so
But
Tesla
here's
said,
the-
okay, we'll give all the service info for free, and we'll make a online parts ordering system that anyone can sign up for. That now, what they did get us is there's no wholesale pricing. So whatever I buy it for is exactly the same what the dealership or what the vehicle owner can walk in the dealership for and buy it, no matter what my volume is.
So what becomes the policy then? Are you allowing these customers, hey, go pick up the part from the Tesla dealership, make sure you bring me a Tesla invoice and we'll install them and just mark up the labor?
No, we just buy it, mark it up, and install it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my and look, the Hunt did a fantastic episode on pricing and like why it doesn't work to increase the price on just labor and then not mark up parts. He did a fantastic
He
episode.
did a great job, but that's what I do.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just saying, like, it makes sense. But I think the biggest thing for me, and I'm just realizing I was supposed to be in another meeting at 11 o'clock. The big thing for me, or the question I have, is not so much repairing the vehicle, right? Because we know we're going to be able to find a way to repair it, and that's going to be all there is to it. Nobody's going to stand in our way on that, right? We will make sure it gets repaired. But one thing that I have learned that I would have never thought, and I've said this before, is the manufacturers don't exactly like all of their dealers.
No,
Right?
No, they're
We've
against each
always
other
looked-
a lot of times.
Yeah, exactly. And so
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is they're not saying, hey, don't repair the car, and hey, we're not going to sell parts, and hey, we're not going to give you the information about it. I'm saying, is this a way to say bye to their dealer network? And like, no, you're not, because one of the things that I've noticed, there was a particular person that was in some meetings, and I don't know if you were there for all of them, Keith, but this particular person works for a certain association that works with dealers, right? And this dude makes the big bucks for lobbying for them, right? And so it was really clear after hearing what he had to say versus what the manufacturers had to say that there had been a line drawn in the sand and they weren't on the same page. Yeah. And so I'm just curious, like, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think we eventually see a different market strategy from some of these manufacturers in that way?
Yeah, we're going to see service side be the bigger part of it, and then the sales side. So let's start with the sales side, and everyone's already talked about it. This isn't news, right? That like sales are going to be less and less through the dealership network, more direct to consumer, because that part's easy, right? Because we already have infrastructure for delivering vehicles, we already have infrastructure for all that, so we're going to see that part. You can go on Amazon and buy a Tesla with Dogecoin right now. So
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And they'll deliver it
Yeah.
to you with some.
I didn't buy my Doge cheap enough.
Yeah. No. Got to buy the dip. It's down right now.
It is down
like
right now.
25
I bought
cents.
it. I bought it cheap, but I didn't buy it at a tenth of a penny. That's where you should have bought it. Then jumped it when it was at 81 cents. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's what I see. I'm not too terribly. I think dealership principle. The problem is that there's a lot of money in selling a dealership, right?
Yeah.
In the manufacturer having that buy-in. Now, it's not as much as what people would think. That it's not like manufacturers are going out and buying land, building buildings, and then selling it off.
Yeah.
No. There's real estate people are making all the money in everything. Period.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's the only part of it. So maybe we could see it swing. I don't know. That's my thought. We'll see. I know sales part will go away first. I don't know about the rest of it.
Right.
That's sales of new cars.
Yes.
Like they're just going to increase their inventory of used cars and get more aggressive and try to compete with the CarMaxes of the world.
Yes.
So they can make more of a markup and still make money on the financing and all the add-ons that they sell.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with a principal a while back, and he was talking about a particular brand of dealerships. And he said, man, you got to take your eyes off of like what it is you think this is. Because he said the name is not who owns this particular dealership. He's like, there's like 75 dealerships with that name in front of it. Most of them are either independently owned or owned by PE or VC. And he said, so here's the deal. He said that particular company, they do two things. They're real estate and they're finance. And he said, so they administer the finance side of the business and they handle the real estate, and they let somebody else, they sell the business to somebody else. They come in and run it. He said, they're making all their money on the real estate and the finance. They're not making any money on selling cars. And so it's this huge fragmented brand. And it's crazy to me because I think, like, we've got a lot of friends that are going to the MSO route, and the big thing that they're pushing for is, hey, I want this brand and I want us to have a consistent experience and I want the branding to be consistent and all of these things. And then you see a giant corporation like that making billions of dollars saying, I don't care about the experience. I don't care about any of that. It's a tool to make money and I don't care about anything else. Right. And so it's a curious topic for me to see where we're going as far as that market. I mean, you look at a new car, it's 30%, maybe almost 40% now that you lose in value the second you drive it off the lot. That money's gone.
Nobody seems to care, dude.
No. It's crazy.
I don't know.
All they hear is,
Hey, Nelson, where do you get your parts?
We do about 20% of our revenues from dealer parts. WorldPack and SSF are our other two primaries.
WorldPack and who?
SSF.
Oh, SSF. Didn't AutoZone buy SSF, or did they sell that? Oh, was that IMC?
I think
that was IMC.
Yeah, IMC.
What happened to IMC? Did they fall off the face of the earth?
I don't know. I've never used them.
They were on the West Coast. They were huge on the West Coast. They were all import. They were just like a competitor to WorldPack or SSF.
I've been really happy with SSF and WorldPack. Nelson, are you using OE, OES for the most part? Like, how are you differentiating? Are you going with, some of these other brands? What's the one that comes with a little cardboard card on the top of it that everybody was using? You know what I'm talking about, David?
No.
I'll have to go. Rain. Is it Rain or something
Oh,
like that?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. That's like,
You definitely have to be very careful with part selection, especially with WorldPack. They're not what they used to be when we first started using them.
They're fixing that.
Yeah, I hope so. I would love that. So
I don't know who came in and bought WorldPack, but I had a whole discussion with the WorldPack guy, and I'm like, hey, I don't see junk parts on there like listed anymore. And he's like, yeah, we're going back to the way we used to do things. And I'm like, yay.
Carlisle, the venture capital company, bought them.
Yeah.
Not Carlisle to do with anything automotive that you're familiar of, but different company.
Yeah. That's all they do is finance.
Hey, the rain like power steering hoses, they're fine. What are you talking about? They come with a little tube already attached to them. We use them all the time. They're fine. Never had a problem with them. You're thinking of URO, Keith. Okay, you're thinking of URO.
Oh God.
Oh my goodness. Look, man. I did talk to Charlie the other day, when we were at the Institute. And I'm going to tell you.
Hell is Charlie.
Charlie Burke.
Charlie from WorldPack.
Oh, okay.
I really think that when that transition happened within that organization, I think it unbridled them to do big things. Because I don't know about you, Keith, but from what I've seen, it looks like they're starting to make some major progress that they had been held back from making a while back, right?
Yep.
Wouldn't you agree? It seems like they're more active and they're being involved and they're going to more shows and they're doing more things. And I hate to be like this, but I really do genuinely believe that Advance Auto Parts was going to kill them if they kept them, right? Like it was going to ruin that brand. They almost ruined it in the first place. But
I think they were just going to try to integrate and make it all one big blob.
Yeah, that's what they all do.
CarQuest and Advance and everything was just going to be one giant blob.
yeah.
But then eventually, like, it would have started with, hey, we still kind of do things the way the WorldPack with, OE and OES parts. But then that would have turned into, hey, we're not making enough money on these parts, so we're going to start white labeling everything. But don't worry, it's the same part that you've always gotten. It's just going to say WorldPack on the outside. And then it would have turned
Changes
into, now, hey, yeah, I want, like, hey, we're making our own line of ignition coils, and it'll have our label, but we're building them to spec. It's like, okay, whatever, dude.
Welcome to
I
all
still
the other
want
auto parts stores in the country.
Yeah, every single other parts store follows the same protocol, and that's what it always turns into. No, I still want my Denso. I still want my whatever, YEC. And
Man, I'm still having failures out of them, though. These
Out of what?
OES parts, I'm still having, like, Denso failures are out through the roof.
We just bought a
now.
Denso fuel
Really?
pump the other day, and it like was internally just bypassing it. Now, give me a break. It was for like a early 2000s GM because we couldn't get an AC Doco, and so I was like, all right, Denso's the only thing that was close. No Delphi, nothing.
Yeah.
Put a Denso in, and it was internally bypassing. It was making really low fuel pressure.
wow, that's
Frustrating.
weird.
Then we went through two fuel filters that were Delphi, that were for a GM that have an integrated pressure control module or fuel pressure control is integrated in the fuel filter assembly, like the Corvette style, but this was for a Pontiac G8 or something. And same two in a row that were bad. They were making like 95 psi at the rail.
That's weird.
Yes.
So
Delphi's the hit or miss. Like, I'm okay with some of the fuel pumps, but sometimes
the reason I bring it up is I was talking to Tanner the other day, and I was talking about a part failure that we were dealing with, and he said and he named them. I'm not going to name them here. He's like, there's a couple people you need to talk to understand what's happening with parts right now. He's like, I don't think they're ever going to be willing to come on the show and talk about it. But he's like, there's a reason you're having these part failures. Keith, what do you think about that? And I'm sure you know who I'm talking about and what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What do you think we're dealing with as far as part failures? Because it has, I mean, dude, it's like a plague right now. I mean, multiple posts a day in all the groups talking about part failures, OE part failures, aftermarket part failures. It's a thing.
Yeah.
What's causing it?
During COVID, it was really bad, even for OE parts. Well, us being 99, I can confidently say 99% OE parts, and the other 1% is OES, or the other 0.9% OES. Then there's this 0.1% out there that we put a dormant on or something because they make an actual better quality part of the version. I'll tell you, the lock cylinder housings for Ford Escapes, the Dorman ones, are leaps and bounds better than the OE design.
Yeah, for sure.
Really?
Yeah. Now, we take the switch that comes with it off and put it in file 13 dumpster and then put a Motorcraft switch on the back of it. Not that I've had a problem with them. I'm just like, aftermarket switch, throw it in the trash, plastic aluminum housing, OE switch on the back, we're good to go. So a lot of that's due to the processes that were in place pre-COVID that were for not only quality control, but sourcing of components and materials are not there anymore. They don't have the same relationships anymore. They don't have the same channels they're getting stuff. They can't even get stuff from the same countries they were getting things before because of what's happening in other countries. So this is the scramble to get the SKU and get the box on the shelf. The same thing that we saw in parts in like 2008 and 9, right? When it was, when you can walk into an AutoZone and get a part for any Nissan, any ignition component for a Nissan. Well, you open the box and there's a Nissan baggie inside because AutoZone through Wells couldn't get anything made from where they were getting them from. So they were just buying OE parts, putting them in there so they could put the spot on the shelf and not have an empty SKU throughout an entire network of stores for 9 months.
AutoZone's always been notorious about doing that.
Yeah,
though,
but I'm not
because
upset
of
by
the
that
way they
when that
source their
happens.
parts.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just hired a Subaru technician, and he's pointing out, and he's like, dude, he's like, you know who's rebuilding those transmissions, the CVTs for Subaru, right? And I'm like,
Jatco.
no. He's like, no, ATK's rebuilding them.
Oh, you mean
Nice.
you mean rebuild, like the internal network rebuild? Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, dude, he said they one of the reasons he
They
came
got
to
a
work for us-
factory.
Yeah, he said they dwarfed the warranty times. He's like, dude, they might as well have just chopped them in half on stuff. And he said they started making warranty processes for the CVT so complex that you almost could not get a warranty approval on it. And he said it was like, he said the list of demands down this whole sheet of paper about, well, but you have to do this and you have to do this. And if you're going to do a control on this transmission, then you have to do this. And he's like, the paperwork alone was more time than what they were going to pay on it.
Yeah.
And he said it's just ridiculous. And he was talking about the number of failures that they were having inside the dealership. And he said the rule is you don't ever say it's that, right? You keep your mouth shut about it. You don't tell the client you're having a part failure. But
That's a Japanese company thing. They never admit their failures. Yeah. Doesn't know how sketchy the parts are.
but dude, it's terrible. And
It's going to get worse. You think it's bad now because now we've got tariff wars. So ain't nobody getting anything from anywhere.
listen, as long as you don't expect your car to run, be leak free, and perform like you expect, we're in good shape.
As long as they're all American-made parts, I guess it won't matter. If you're trying to source your stuff from overseas, then
How long does it take? How long does it take American industry to tool up to do that?
11 years.
That's what I.
No, I
was
did.
told.
11 years, they're on crack. It depends on the financial incentive to do so.
No.
Because I guarantee you, if the government gets out of the way, deregulates things, and they have enough financial incentive to get that sucker up and running in a year, they will.
That's the cut.
It's 11 years because of the regulatory BS that they have to deal with.
It's 11 years to
maybe
get there
to a degree.
to be correct, to be at the same quality control level as what's
Right.
expected.
Well, I mean, but here's the thing.
Assuming they don't have the processes already. They just transfer the processes from
Just to-
Mexico to the United States.
let's
Hell, they
get-
only have to move like 10 miles north. Same
Let's look at
workers and
Bethlehem
everything.
Steel, though, look at Bethlehem Steel to rebuild a factory or a system of that size. And I know that we've modernized steel production, right? But to redo a production of that nature, just to build the rail lines and the infrastructure around it to make it work and to make it happen, is going to take years just to develop that out and to get the right people in the right place to make it work like it's supposed to and efficient.
I'm just telling you right now, it's going to be
listen,
you're putting everything
I get your
in the
regulation.
framework. Well,
I get your
dude, you're looking at everything within the framework of how it's always been.
No,
it's like,
you-
$100
listen.
billion to make what 8 miles of high-speed rail in California. That's what everybody assumes. Like that's what it costs. How many chargers did we get up and running? What is it, like 8? How many chargers? And you're like, oh, it's because we're figuring out.
California gave up on EV years ago. It's all hydrogen. Okay.
Look up the chargers. It was like $30 million per charger that they built out, and they have like $100 billion allocated for it, but they haven't made any. And the reason why is just like, oh, we're coordinating where this money's gonna go. Blah, blah, blah. No BS. I'm just telling you. You let the companies do what they're gonna do. Just crush the cities. Eminent domain, get the slave labor, just ship them into the United States, quit making the little kids in Congo dig up your freaking cobalt, dig it up here. I'm just saying, let them run free and it'll happen so much faster.
Oh, okay, but here's the problem with Run Free. Okay, I want to say it even happened in Missouri, right? Old boy goes.
It hasn't happened since the 1800s, dear. The 1800s was the last time any of this
shut
happened.
up so somebody
I'm just
else
saying.
could talk. We would be done with this. by
Because
now.
you're so wrong.
Not as wrong as you are. Look. I'm just saying. I think it was in Missouri. Old boy goes by and he gets this truck. Right. He has this paving company and he has these pumper trucks. And so this company in town says, "Hey, we got this stuff that we can basically give you for free. And we can pump it into the back of your trucks. And what this stuff will do is if you go spray it on gravel roads, it will keep the dust down. And you can go, all you got to do is come load this stuff up. We're going to sell it to you for like a penny a gallon, right? No big deal. You go to local towns and tell them you're a dust mitigation company. You just go spray all this stuff up and down the roads. It'll keep the dust down. Everybody will be happy. Everybody will be great. And then like 5 years later, everybody in the town's dying, right? Like in this big gruesome way. It's this really terrible situation. All the kids have cancer. Everybody's upset about it. And they find out that old boy's been spraying this like extremely toxic and carcinogenic chemical all over the gravel, right? I'm not saying that I'm a huge fan of regulations, but I'm saying that there are some regulations that keep our children from having cancer 6 months after they're born, or like extra limbs and shit. So I'm just saying that there are definitely positives to some regulations, David. I'm not